Hello, ladies. I'm here with Wade Lightheart, and he is one of the founding members of one of my most favorite supplement companies. Here we go, the lighting, BioOptimizers. And Wade has been so kind to be a guest expert for me once before, and he's here again by popular demand because his supplements and his knowledge are above and beyond what is out there. So Wade, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Carol. It's always a pleasure to connect.
Thank you. So let's start with why and how your products are like some of the best out there. What makes BioOptimizers so much better than what people are finding, unfortunately, and wasting money on?
Thanks for asking. Well, it started with an intention that Matt and I had. Matt and I were sports nutritionists and exercise physiologists that got into the personal training business, 25 years ago, 30 years ago. And we were exposed to a lot of nutritional information, but when we compared to what was doing, say, what we read about in studies or what would be functional inside the body, and then we would compare that to the store shelves, we would see a big discrepancy. And unfortunately, most individuals who might read about the benefits of a nutritional supplement or how it might work, and the reason essentially that they're taking it, oftentimes the thinking or the reason that they have chosen a product or come up with the idea of a product or have been recommended a product is accurate. The problem is the consumer generally does not have the capability to discern the difference between a high quality product, a medium quality product, and a low quality product. They shop on price or reference or whatever. And when you look at a label, you don't have the ability to take apart what's behind the scenes on a certificate of analysis.
If there is even a certificate of analysis.
And that in itself is not evidence that the product is going to work, because there are all sorts of things in the product procurement. So if you get a bunch of ingredients from around the world, it'll have a certificate of analysis. But when you get into a lab testing, sometimes those substances will be inert. They may have other things involved with it. They could have flow agents and stuff. And so your procurement of your raws is important, how you combine them in a way that works synergistically. And you're always dealing with regulatory agencies in multi-ingredient products and things like that. And then in a given family of nutrients or products, there is a wide degree of variance. And I could say to somebody, well, it's like cookies. Well, you can get store-bought cookies. Maybe you can get a homemade cookie at the restaurant down the street, or maybe you can get grandma's cookies. And then the quality of the ingredients you put into the cookies, it's all a chocolate chip cookie maybe, but there's a big variance in the cookies. And it's the same thing in the supplement industry. And so when Matt and I started years ago, I had to fix a digestive problem that I had developed from competing at the Mr. Universe contest. And I was fortunate enough to meet a doctor, and he kind of clued us into the next level of what was possible and really great products. And so we began, when we decided to develop our own company, we said that we would never cheap out on anything that we could. And we would always continue to improve the products even after they were built, because there's always things that you can learn. And
True.
Now we have I'm excited because I'm just getting ready to head over to our university partners at the Birch International University of Croatia, where we test everything. We have another special lab in Iowa where we do another bunch of internalized development, product development. So we're very different than most companies, which they just get a mishmash of maybes in a bottle. They get a contract manufacturer. They throw together a bunch of ingredients and they build a product on margin. We build a product on mission. And we back everything up with a money back guarantee. So in other words, if the product does not deliver on what you hope to take it for, or what benefit you're looking for, we just give people their money back. And we have, to my knowledge, the lowest refund rates in the entire industry because our products work. And we don't, and I advocate for other companies. So for example, there'll be lots of products out there that I'll say, well, we don't build that, but those guys make a great product. Mm-hmm. And we try to find areas that are not well represented or not well developed, and there's a need in the public. So that's kind of the ethos of our company. And now we're, I think we're the third fastest growing health company in the world now. So that's pretty good.
Well deserved and well earned. And I have to say that taking this after I eat, and I don't really have digestive problems, but it makes you just feel so much better. And this product I recommend to all the women in my community who've undergone chemo or radiation, because there's no way you can get through that without having severe gut disruptions.
Yeah.
So, and I know you have other products for that. Do you want to talk a little bit about them?
Yeah. So one of the areas, and this has been a topic that I've been fascinated about for ever since I had my digestive health problems. And fundamentally, we assume that if we put food in, it just magically goes into our body the way we know it's energy or building blocks. But there's a conversion process that requires enzymes, hydrochloric acid, and then probiotics. Mm-hmm. And with probiotics, there's literally hundreds of strains. Some of them work together, some of them work against each other, and then some of them are pathogenic. And then the idea is every person's biome is changing all the time, this ratio of probiotics. Matt's a ketogenic guy. I'm a plant-based guy. So we have totally opposite microbiomes, because as your diet changes or you follow a certain diet, you will develop the bacteria that supports your dietary lifestyle. And ideally that's in alignment with your genetics and also, what you can sustain or what you like that diet, for example, because you can't follow a diet that you don't essentially like. And ideally they should be in alignment with the things that will offset your genetic weaknesses. Predispositions. And so that's how we built that. And so we built several different supportive strains of bacteria, and we combine it with other agents to enhance the growth of that bacteria, so that not only do you get the bacteria, you get what feeds that bacteria. You might get supporting herbs that work in conjunction with it, because that's how we would get it in nature.
Right.
In nature, when you would eat the leaves or you would eat the animal product or the fish or whatever, and you would get the associative bacteria that is natural to that product. Now we've got this big, all bacteria is bad, and there's bad bacteria is bad, but good bacteria is probiotics. So we developed the Biome Breakthrough that you just kind of showed. That helps rebuild your intestinal flora. There's a little mucoid plaque area. Now we think of that as a bad thing, but we need this mucosa, which provides a living environment so that they can sustain themselves. And this gets damaged over time from chemicals like pesticides and herbicides and chemicals that will be on your food, dyes, other agents, medications, radiation, chemotherapy, things like that. All of these things, really an anxious event. Like if you're almost in a car crash or something, in a family thing, can really impact the survivability of your bacteria. So adding a little bit of probiotics into your diet has been very helpful for improving your digestion and your well-being and your cognitive health. So for example, we developed a product called Cognibiotics.
Which I have to say, I don't have it with me because I took it and used it all up, and I haven't ordered more. That's why it's not here. It's a great product.
Thank you. And what we learned is that 95% of your serotonin is made in your gut by bacteria. And so a lot of people that struggle like being upbeat or kind of happy, or they might feel low mood a lot. Oftentimes that there is a bacteria issue. They don't have enough of the probiotics that make those neurochemicals that make you feel good. And when you don't have those bacteria, you don't even desire the foods that would also help manufacture those neurochemicals. So it's a two-part component. It's not just the food, but the bacteria will send signals into your nervous system to tell your brain that you want this. Now, most people, when they're serotonin deficient, will crave sugar. So
I was just about to say, and unfortunately, they're giving the body's getting the wrong message because it sends you to the sugar department or the quick carb instead of phytonutrients from plants, right?
That's right. And there's a great book that was written by Eric Schlosser called fast food nation. And what happened in the 1970s is that all of these food manufacturers realized it was really hard to get new customers. So they started developing chemicals that mimicked key nutrients and putting it in the food because it would cause people that had a nutrient deficiency in that area to eat more of that food. Now, we can go back in time. When I was a small child, they had little cans of pop and little bags of chips. And by the time I became a teenager, they became bigger bottles and bigger chips. And then when I became an adult, it was like, you carry out the jug and the sack of chips. It's like, did people's appetites change that much? No. What happens is their brains are getting tricked to eat more. So we have to reverse that. And the way you reverse it is you put in the good bacteria so that they send the right signals and you support them with the right foods. And Cognibiotics we developed because I had a lot of friends who were struggling in that area. And so we went to our research team in Croatia and said, hey, what bacteria agents works? And we have Monia over there, who's a PhD in microbiome. We got her a $350,000 machine to actually put these probiotics in, and we could see what they made. And it was remarkable. So we did that, and then we contracted a Chinese medicine expert. And he is also a neuroscientist. And was a formula nuclear physicist, if you can believe that. And so really smart fellow.
Genius. One of these people
super genius guy. And we said, well, there's been these traditional Chinese herbs that have been used throughout history. Would they be supportive with this bacteria? And he says, well, they should be, because some of those bacteria would have been present on the plants when they were grown. So we said, well, can you make us that formula? And then what we did is we took the geniuses in the microbiome with the geniuses in Chinese medicine, put the two products together and made Cognibiotics. And then you can stack it with things like magnesium. We've got the most sophisticated magnesium on the market. And that magnesium also is a supportive element for making the neurochemicals in our brain. So literally, the quality of your mood and the quality of your brain health is directly related to these little microscopic organisms, which are converting minerals and food into the chemicals that make you feel good or make you feel connected or help you stay focused.
Amazing. So I love your Magnesium Breakthrough, but is it, a lot of women say to me, I'm taking magnesium for constipation.
Correct.
And I know there's lots of different forms of magnesium. My understanding about your Magnesium Breakthrough is it not for that, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, for example, well, let's talk about how magnesium works when dealing with constipation. Magnesium is the relaxation molecule.
Right.
So when you have smooth muscle tissue in your intestinal tract, and that works through peristaltic contraction. In other words, there's signals that go in your system, and that moves the food through your system. Now, when you have constipation, there's a couple of reasons why that happens. One, it is possible that you have a disruption in that nervous system. Oftentimes that has to do with a signaling out of your spine. Something in your spine could be out of alignment, which is causing an impingement, which doesn't allow the peristaltic contraction work. That's a small percentage of the cases. Most people are chronically dehydrated. Yeah. And what happens, they get impacted food in there that it's not digested properly, because they didn't have enough enzymes or enough hydrochloric acid or the right probiotics in their bodies. Oftentimes after medication, you look at a lot of medications, which will kill your good probiotics. And then what happens is you have undigested food sitting in your stomach that keeps piling up, and then it gets impacted. And when it gets impacted, it dries out.
And one of the, excuse me, I just got to say, one of the worst things that happens is the women or the men go to their doctor, and the doctor says, oh, take some Metamucil.
Right.
So here you have your situation, which you just described so elegantly, where it's dried out in the intestines, and then you're taking cardboard and you're adding it to your intestines, and it's the worst, and it's gluten, and it's filled with chemicals. Please, if you're on Metamucil, throw it out immediately.
Yes.
I just had to put that little anti-Metamucil plug in there because it's such a problem.
Yes, it doesn't treat the underlying condition. And the
It makes
underlying
it
condition,
worse, and it
yeah.
makes right.
And so what you need to draw is you need to, number one, get really well hydrated. And number two is you got to get hydrated in your intestinal tract. Now, traditionally, magnesium citrate, which anytime you hear the 8, it's, I always say magnesium, what the heckalate. That's the bond. That's the bond that's associated with the calcium. And the nature of that bond will determine where the calcium tends to go in the body. So different types of magnesium are uptaken and absorbed by different parts of the body just by the way the cellular docking works. And so citrate has been traditionally used for drawing water into the intestines. And it's very good. So I think it's a good option if you want to do just a straight magnesium citrate. Now we have a little bit of magnesium citrate in our Magnesium Breakthrough, but we have seven magnesiums in total. And we did that specifically to address all the areas of magnesium deficiency because there's over 300 different processes in the body that magnesium is essential. It's essentially the miracle mineral. And in North American diets, we don't get it in our diets.
Very deficient.
Yes. And so by adding that in, it can oftentimes trigger a whole host of positive benefits, better heart rhythms. It can improve muscles, people that have restless leg syndrome, overstimulation, better sleep, vasodilation. So magnesium allows the arteries and veins to open up so you get better blood flow to the brain and other organs of the body. So people will find that pain from lack of oxygen to tissues because of constriction. Oftentimes people will see improvements with Magnesium Breakthrough. And so it's been our miracle mineral that we did that product. And I think we've done 4 different versions of it. We keep improving it because we keep testing in the lab. And it's really interesting how probiotics work in conjunction with it as well. These little bacteria cultures make all kinds of unique things with what you feed them. And we live in a symbiotic relationship with these bacteria. And so they need these elements to manufacture the things that give us energy and the things that rebuild our bones and our bodies and our tissues. And so they work synergistically together, which is really cool.
That's really wonderful. So would you recommend using the Biome Breakthrough with the Cogni and the Magnesium Breakthrough, all 3 of them?
Yes. So one of the things that I like to do is I take my Biome Breakthrough that you have. I like eating that right out of the can.
No, I think it's delicious, actually.
It tastes delicious.
Yeah.
It's like frosting or something.
Yeah.
I take a scoop in the morning when I get up, and then I'll take my Cognibiotics then. And then in the evenings before I go to bed, I take my P3OMs, my probiotic, which is really good for the immune system.
Yeah. Talk about the P3OMs.
Yes. So P3OM was a strain of L. plantarum. L. plantarum is a very aggressive strain. And the doctor that instructed Matt and I years ago and took everything, he took it and put it through an extreme process. It's like a Navy SEAL training. They put it in a chemical soup. They ran a sine wave through it, and only about 2% survive. Oh. And then they grew that 2% on special mediums. And this bacteria was like a super enhanced version of L. plantarum. It's so powerful. I can't communicate what that is because they might shut your site down under the current rights. However, you can go to our website and you can look at the US patent in what this bacteria strain does in extraordinary. And the good news is there's 6 basic tests that are performed by microbiome experts. That's experts in the bacteria cultures in your system. And that will say, does it wipe out gram-negative or gram-positive? Does it have this function? Is it survivability in the digestive tract? Does it break down this? Will it grow There's all these kind of standardized tests in the industry. P3OM, our product, is by far and away the strongest, most potent, powerful probiotic there is that we've tested, and we've tested hundreds of different strains. We've tested all the top brands in the company.
Even the spore ones? Because
Yeah,
everybody
it's
says to me,
really,
oh, the spore is so great. Everybody needs to
Yeah.
be on the spore.
correct. Spores have both positive and negative aspects. And so in the case of someone, and it's right for their genetics and their lifestyle, and it's supportive, and they have the right agents that allows it to develop and grow, it can be very positive. However, in a person where that's not the right bacteria strain for someone's lifestyle, it can be detrimental. And so when you get into spores, you really want to have the guidance of a professional medical expert to determine, is that right for your particular individuality? And if it is, great, go for it. And if not, you'll probably be pretty safe with these products, and you'll see benefits from them.
But the P3OM is much more potent than a spore-based.
We haven't found anything yet that can outcompete it. We're in trials right now trying to beat it. So basically, we're in the process of finding ways to turn ordinary strains of probiotics into enhanced or super probiotics. That's our job, because we have done such a terrible job of managing our microbiomes as a society, because we've focused for the last 80 years on killing the bad guys. And now one of the most dangerous places you can go is the hospital, because there's these antibiotic resistant strains of bacteria. Pneumonia, the head of our department, she's working on this feverishly, because she says we are about 10 years away from the post-antibiotic era. In other words, all of the antibiotics that we're currently using in medical institutions aren't going to work. So we have to come up with a new solution to be able to kill off the bad bacteria and resist the negative aspects of drugs. And so we're developing, taking strains that we already know and seeing if we can put them through processes to enhance them, because bacteria are very mutable. And it's very interesting what we're getting. And so we expect to be publishing some results in the next 12 months on what we've been able to do at the lab.
So the P3OM, do you want to take it before you go to bed or on an empty stomach, or does it matter?
So there's two times that I think are the best. Some people who have, if you're the type of person that feels like when you eat protein that it feels kind of stonish, maybe you have steak dinner, and you don't feel very well, chances are you might do really well taking 2 or 3 masszymes, an HCl, and a couple of P3OMs, because unlike other bacteria, P3OM actually breaks down protein. That's very unusual. Most bacteria work on sugars.
Right.
P3OM will break down protein. So you can take it with meals if you have a lot of digestive issues. The other thing I like it is before bed. And the reason I like it before bed, I take 4 caps before I go to bed. The bacteria will literally go through the whole system, and it'll clean up undigested protein throughout the whole body. Like it's in your blood and everything. So it's really helpful that way. And I like it because I don't wake up with brain fog. I don't have that fuzziness in the morning where you're kind of like, I wake up and I'm super sharp, because I don't have undigested protein and bad bacteria making neurochemicals that make you all fuzzed out and foggy and not sure what's happening.
Right.
And P3M is really great for that. And I get so many reports of people talking about how they take their P3M before bed and they feel great when they wake up in the morning. That and a couple magnesiums.
So is P3OM dose dependent on the person's weight? Because you're a bigger guy than somebody like myself who is smaller. Should I take 2, or you want to take 4 all the time?
Yeah, I think the best dosages are 2 to 4.
Okay.
And when now I will make one caveat. If somebody has gone through some serious, if you've been in a surgery, if you had a lot of chemotherapy, radiation, if you've had drugs like antibiotics for whatever reason that you've been used for a period of time, then I would suggest taking the P3OM in the mornings on an empty stomach and the evenings, and maybe even with meals with some, and definitely use the Biome Breakthrough, because you need to rebuild that layer so all your good bacteria will work together. And the good news is the P3OM will attack the bad bacteria or the antibiotic resistant strain bacteria that could be in there, so you can now go after them. And that's where a lot of people have a slow recovery, especially as we age. Our microbiomes aren't as robust.
Right.
And by adding those things in, it improves the recovery rates when we recover from surgeries. You know, my dad had heart surgery during COVID.
Wow.
And here was very interesting. So he went to the doctor and they brought him in for a thing. And he ended up having to have 5 bypasses, a quintuple bypass. He had 20% of the blood flow going to his body. And he had heart problems when he's out cutting trees in the backyard, and he's in the late 70s. And the doctor went into him and said, I don't know how you're alive.
Yeah.
And he says, did you feel? He's like, fine. And he says, well, what are you taking? And he says, well, my son makes this Masszymes and P3M, and I take these religiously every day. And he said, that's probably saved your life. The surgeon said, because it's keeping your blood thin enough that you could get enough oxygen from it. And so pretty remarkable. I was overjoyed to hear that. That wasn't my intention.
Thanks to my son, I'm alive. That's a beautiful story. Thank you so much, Wade. Well, I'm grateful. That's okay. So, ladies, you're going to be getting an email from me with the link to purchase all of these wonderful products and add them to your life, because we're all about empowering you to recover your health and restore your life after breast cancer. And many of these products are also safe to take if you're in the middle of chemo or radiation, in which you're told not to take anything. Unfortunately, that's not a science-based statement. There is a great deal you can do to protect your healthy cells and your gut when you're in the middle of chemo or radiation, as Wade has just shared with us. So Wade, I know that you have another appointment to get to, and I don't want to keep you too long, but is there anything else you want to share about any of your wonderful products?
Well, I am an advisor to the American Anti-Cancer Institute, and I've dealt with a lot of people who are going through that. And of course, my own sister died of cancer. And so I'm very passionate about this. One of the things I would encourage people, and this is nothing to relate it to my company, is you can look up, there's a fellow by the name of Len May that has a site that looks at your cannabinoid genetics. Mm-hmm. Which cannabinoids? So you'll hear a lot of people that are dealing with a lot of pain or inability to digest their food when they're going through chemotherapy and radiation. And they can determine which cannabinoids, whether that's CBD or THC or any of the various variants, mm-hmm. that may help alleviate the pain and the suffering, but you need to know which ones will work Absolutely. For you.
Right.
Yeah, and he's got a great site, so you can check that out. I think it's very valuable because I noticed it's such a challenging time when you're on all that medication and going through all that therapy, that having things that can alleviate the nausea and the sickness and the stuff, combine that with some of these nutritional supplements, will help get you back on your feet as fast as possible.
That's great. And what is his last name? Len what?
Len May. Yeah, and it's an endocannabinoid genetic test.
NAY?
Yeah, M-A-Y.
Okay. And ladies, I'm going to bring him on as a guest expert because we all need to know about that. And this is an area where it's really best to have a practitioner such as myself help you figure this out and not think you're going to rebuild your car by yourself, so to speak. Mm-hmm. It's important for us to know what our limitations are and bring in experts to help you with that. And that's really important. There's something about breast cancer where women think they can do it themselves and they go read on Dr. Google, and next thing you know, they spend thousands of dollars on supplements that have nothing to do with what they need. And which is why I bring people like Wade on, because first of all, his quality is unsurpassed, and he really is a science genius behind what's everything in the bottle. So thank you so much, Wade. And we will bring Len on as a guest expert also. And thank you for that introduction. And thanks for your time. Lovely to have you here.
My pleasure. Keep quarterbacking those people to a new and healthy life. I know it's always a challenging situation when you're in those things, but that's where you have someone like you, Dr. Carol, who's on the front lines that can help sort out all of the confusion and give the specifics for that individual. It's a key aspect to having your best life and recovering as quickly as possible. So thank you for your work. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for your work. We're mutually thanking each other, everyone.
Yes.
Carol Laurie signing off for now. And thank you all for listening and watching. And Wade, thank you again. And there'll be more later. Bye for now.